where the fun begins.
Hello, welcome to the Council. We begin tonight's meeting of the Council by calling the Council to order. Hello to everyone and thank you for joining us. The Council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm Elise, and with me are my fellow Council members, Sakari.
Sawubona. That's Zulu for hello.
Magic Ace.
Hello. It's English for hi.
Hey, that works.
And Redna.
Valkaman. Swedish for welcome.
We're nerds, guys. So sorry.
Tonight
I'm
we're going to
offended,
be
I'm
discussing... Tonight we're going to be discussing how to prepare or preparing for update 5.10 or 5.10 coming December 11th.
And after I hit unmute, you can hear all the places we're found. Like, after this live broadcast, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere, like our podcast. You can find us on any pretty much podcast app. You can also find us on our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswtotor. But wait, there's more. You can also find us on Twitter, where once in a while I get a hold of the account and I put epic gifts. That would be at thecouncilswtotor. You can also find us on our website, which has all of our awesome episodes, which is www.thecouncilswtotor.com. And we also have Patreon, which is patreon.com/thecouncilswtotor. We would appreciate your patronage. And you can generally put us in any search engine because we're pretty much everywhere. And you can see these epic faces and graphics anywhere they might be found.
I just love it when chat jumps in and joins us in our jokes. We have Elion D saying salut, which is French for hi. So you guys keep it going. Let's make a chain of this thing. I think it'll be fun all episode. All right, so as Elise mentioned, we're talking about 5.10 tonight. What we're going to focus on here, specifically in the chat section, is Larry Everett's article from the Hyperspace Beacon, 5 Things You Need to Do Before SWTOR 5.10 Update. We're going to talk a little bit about Masterwork Gear and, of course, assumed choices if you skip ahead to 5.10 story content and do that without doing all the alerts, etc. So there's a lot to unpack this episode. First, however, we are going to start with the icebreaker, which is just a question to get our chat going here. So the question for tonight is, of all of the Alliance alerts or companion return missions that you have played so far, which has been your favorite? Feel free, chat, to jump in if you would like to share as well. Elise, do you have a favorite Alliance alert mission?
So we're talking about the ones that are like the one-off ones, right? Not during the story, but the one-off ones.
Yes.
I have none because I've done none.
Really?
That actually makes me a little
So
sad.
you didn't do like Vet or Bowdar or...
I mean,
Vet is part of the main story, so you don't have a choice with Vet. The side ones would be like Talos Strelic and Ewan and,
Yes.
you know, the side ones there.
Well, there were several of the companions that were alerts that were not part of the main story.
Right, but
The
they were
original
all on-
companions, I mean.
I did a bounty hunter, and so I pretty much got most of the ones I wanted during the story. So,
Yep. You know, minus Mako.
so that would be no. I got
Like
Torian.
Torian.
Really? Like Torian. Okay. So my answer to this question is Ashara Zavros. I'm assuming I'm getting this right. That's the Inquisitor. She when you pick her up, you make her an apprentice, and by the time she returns, she has been out there experiencing the world without you and comes back as an equal, which I really like. I just love that they did that. So Ashara is by far my favorite of the returning companions. Redna, what about you, sir?
Who's the dude that's the cowboy guy?
Corso Riggs.
No, of course. I think
No,
you're
not the
talking
guy
about
with the fan
Nico
for his
Nico
guns.
Okar.
Cowboy.
Oh, Nico,
Nico.
yeah.
Cowboy guys.
Sorry, I was thinking
Nico.
redneck, not cowboy.
Redneck.
Yeah, no, the one that can actually wear a cowboy hat without a bonnet attached. Nico Okar, yeah, I like him a lot because he's definitely a slovenly drunk, and that's a little bit too much like I was a few years ago.
Yeah, you legit have to make him a drink to get him to join you, so that's great.
I did do that, but I wasn't counting that because that was like old news. But I did like that one, and that's one of the few I actually did.
Aren't all the alerts old news? Please tell me we're not getting more alerts.
No, I mean we got a few this year. So
Well, so there's 4 other returning
Fair
companions. I think with this update, right? We've got 4. Like the remaining ones are coming back, minus maybe 2. So oh goodness,
I don't
make
think
me
we're
do their
getting.
names.
We're not doing Scourge, right? I don't think he's coming back this time. Or is
No.
Scourge is not,
Scourge.
and Kira Carson are not coming back.
right.
Is Mako? I don't think.
And only did they
Yes.
change it and make it light side and dark side Jasa? Because originally it was
No,
just
I
dark
don't
side
think
Jasa. So
I think it's still just Darkside Jason.
I believe
you
the
did
most
light
recent mention was that they did actually find Lightside Jasa, and she was on her way.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I think they weren't going to, and then they changed on the forums or
Right.
something and said yes they were. I think that
Which,
was the
you know
deal
what
with
that
her.
screams to me is, oh,
Chat
we
said it's
forgot there was a
both.
light side version, but we were able to get it in time.
I don't know. For me, I think if they had a story reason, I think that would have been better. I don't subscribe to the everybody should get what they want all at once kind of theory if they have plans.
No, I agree, and I
So-
think the reason that they were able to fit her in
They
was
should've-
because
They should have stuck to their guns if they had a plan and said no.
right, and I
like
think the
this-
reason that because if you remember the terminology that they were using, it had to do with the fact that she was lost. We're going to see if we can find her. Well, we know that the setup for this is the fact that there was a certain group of Jedi and light side Force users that all went off to set this up.
Right.
And so I believe that's why they didn't really reveal it until they revealed that information, because she will be a part of that story element.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I hope they really do make them very different, like experiences for people. I hope.
Yeah. Not
But
gonna
we'll see.
lie, so far they've been really poor about making experiences different in this stuff. So we'll see.
No argument here.
Wait, is it my turn yet? Do I get to say my stuff?
Go for it.
Okay, so I actually have 2 answers, and I think they're both valid because I have one that is optional. You wouldn't necessarily have to get this one. You actually had to work to get this character, which would be Darth Hexed. And then I have the other one, which was you didn't have to work. They just gave it to you with the content. So with the content, my favorite one, I think, would have to be, honestly, Felix Arreso. Because he's a very forgettable character for most people, and he's the male love interest of the female Jedi Consular. The reason why I love it is because he was always just so sweet and so down to earth, and it's like that made sense for the Consular, who was a very more like laid back and chill. If you played light side, was a chill player, like a chill cartoon character,
Right.
whatever. So like Arreso to me seemed like a good counterpart to that if you were playing light side. And I loved how just like sweet and chill and normal he was. He wasn't like outlandish about anything. He was just a normal soldier who fell in love and wanted to make his life normal. Turns out he was hiding a dark secret, and he's like, but if you don't want me, it's fine, la la la. So when you get his alliance alert back, and especially if you romance him, it was like heartbreaking. Without spoilers, his story was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And he tells you what happens to him. And since you already know his backstory, you're like, oh no, that's terrible.
Yeah, it
And
was
it's like,
awful.
it was a real like heart pulling moment. I was like, that doesn't happen to me in this game. That does not happen to me in this game. So the fact that they elicited emotions out of me that I don't normally have in real life for a
They
lot of
wrung
things.
them from you.
Yeah, it actually impacted my decision to make another stage to go through that storyline again just for Felix Arreso. So I would say that would have to be my favorite one because it was actually emotional. And whoever like I felt like wrote
Yeah.
that, I feel like it should have went a lot longer and it should have had more in depth to it. But I feel like with what little bit they had to work with, whoever wrote it was really good. I enjoyed that. But on the other part, this is one you had to actually work for. So if you didn't do the achievements, you didn't get this companion, and it was Darth Hexed. Darth Hexed, 1,000% opposite of Felix
Right.
Arreso. She is hardcore dark side, and she honestly embodies a lot of like the attitude I portray whenever I play a Sith. She's like giddy and excited about killing people that are more difficult than she thought. She's like, oh, that was totally a thrill. I absolutely love it. And she's like the most cheerful Sith you'll ever meet in your life. And she's like, it's absolutely amazing, darling. Like everything about that conversation cracks me up. She's like, oh, let's go have a good time and cause chaos and mayhem. It'll be wonderful. Who said this was work, darling? It's fun.
It's like, have you noticed
So-
that's like the cookie cutter Sith woman in this game. It's like she's so hoity-toity.
That's not how I play.
Like
And how I
everyone
play my
from
circus,
Messina
she's like-
to they're all that kind of a personality.
How I play my circus hardcore, like dark and like gritty. I'm like, come on, I'll fight all the Jedi and I'll take them on and I'll rule the Sith Empire and do all the dirty work. It's fine. But this character is all like, let's go, gallop through a field of blood. It'll be fun. Everything's fine. It's wonderful. And so that was also my other favorite. Like, they were tied. And I felt like it was important to mention them separately since one didn't come with just doing the story. You actually had to get achievements to get that one.
Yeah, agreed.
I have to say, though, the Sith Inquisitor, though, whenever you do light side, her voice actor was just on it. She's just so, like, sarcastic and just...
Yeah, it's just like... Actually, they're both that way, but they just drip with condescension.
Yeah,
it's just
I
so
love
great,
it.
the voice acting. Yeah.
This is how a Sith really does it. She's like, I'm like, thank you, I love this.
You're sure enamored of yourself. Some of those repeat lines are just great. Yeah, so I had to look up, believe it or not, like the only place I could find it was Volk. It actually has a list of who's coming in 5.10. Doc is coming back, so some love for the Jedi Knight for a change, because they've been kind of, gypped, I guess, with all of this stuff. Nadia Grell is coming back, Dark and Light Side Jace, and the long-awaited Kim Val is. Which I think there's some caveat on that, though. You have to have picked Kim instead of Zash. I think is how that works.
You did, because you dispel him if you pick Zash, so he's no longer there. But I have to.
Can I just say something?
I didn't think that they would do this at all, since they gave us that other piece of crap to Shad. So I'm happy to be proven wrong. Yes, right. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I 1000% didn't believe that they would bring him back.
Now, how do I dispel that other one? That's the real question.
So
but honestly, until now...
Oh, I get what you're saying. Never mind.
Throw him away.
The other one, not Kem Val, the other guy. Yeah, actually, to be perfectly frank, I didn't even know there was a way to dispel him until they were talking about bringing him back, because I've literally never done anything else. He is far cooler. Far cooler. Like, why would you keep that other sadistic words I won't speak out loud right now?
Yes, it's complicated. So, okay, so we've all gone through. We've all had our choice, right? We've all spoken about our ones, or our lack of ones. We did a straw poll this week. We're trying to get back into that. So we were able to poll the community and find what they thought about Masterwork Gear. And we're going to get into that here in a second and kind of unpack that. Elise, would you like to take us through the poll of the week?
Poll asked, how would you describe your general attitude towards Masterwork gearing coming with SWTOR 5.10? Excited, optimistic, receptive, cautious, pessimistic, disgusted, and indifferent.
I had some words. I came up with some words. I don't know if they work. So chatbot is currently sending them to chat. Make sure that it lists all of them, and then if you would like to vote with us, if you're in our live audience, be sure to just say the letter of the corresponding choice. So if you're excited about it, say A. Uppercase or lowercase, it makes no difference, but we'll give it a few minutes for you guys. We'll talk about what we would have picked in that poll. Then we will talk about what our live audience says to it, and then we'll talk about what our poll respondents said about it online, on Reddit and elsewhere this week. So guys, what about you? Does any of these words pop out to you, or do you disagree with the set and think that there's another word that is more appropriate? How you are feeling about Masterwork Gear?
There are more appropriate words, but they're not suitable for our show, so I will not use them.
All right. So I find the nearest one. I don't even know what I would say to this. I think I
am indifferent. So.
Indifferent. Okay. Don't care at all.
I'm not rating. I don't need to chase that. I'm quite fine with what I have. With the content I'll be playing.
Right.
Let it roll.
Redna, you're muted.
I am fully aware.
Oh, okay.
I am personally indifferent for one single purpose. I really don't care about this new tier gear. I think the way that it's being introduced is foolish, kind of stupid even. But I am optimistic that there will be an expansion to replace this Doomarsery sooner than later. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay. Um, Magic, do you want to unpack what your reaction is to, like, explain it a little bit? Why? Apparently, you're not that keen on it. What is the break?
Well, I mean, I might have launched into a little tirade on the last episode, so why
Give us
not?
a summary.
Basically, if you don't already farm methods of getting a crap ton of components, you're going to be screwed unless you have unlimited supplies for crafting. Because what is it, like 60,000 components you need to like get your gear, and I think it's more for tanks. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the things you need to craft drop off of the Nightmare Gods.
Yes, they do.
How many people even play hard mode gods? Let's be honest. I know several people who are asking me to take them through on story mode because they've never actually even gone through on story mode yet. So the likelihood of people being able to get the gear they need to continue to do that is like zero. So what you're doing is you're creating a very teeny tiny little market.
Right.
For the people to have the domination of the market. So they make the gear. If you want it, they 1000% control how much you're going to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it and you don't get that gear, then you don't go on to do what you want.
It's going to be ridiculous.
And I'll say from some of the gear that I had on PTS, I was like, I'm parsing much better. This looks much great. I'm excited. And then I realized this isn't even the highest gear. If I want the highest gear to do better, I'm going to need all the things that I don't have. So I'm literally running like 3 to 4 S&Vs a week, S&V Nightmare, so I can get the components off of each boss because it drops over 100 components on each one. I lock out all my tunes consistently to max out on the components to do it. And you know what? I've never been more sick of anything in my life. S&V, really? I'm really done with it. Like, I'm really done with it. But guess what? I'm going to keep running it.
You sound like at least talking about EC.
I like
SB.
SB.
EC's been a nice change of pace, believe it or not. ECM has been a nice change of pace. It's been good. But yeah, and now
Yeah, but you shouldn't be doing that because doesn't that have the least number of bosses of any of the operations?
Right, but you get really bored really quick, and if you burn out, you're not going to get the components you need.
Right.
Sticker in chat says that the mod and enhancements are bound to the gear. That's right. I completely forgot about that. So it's not like you can just very easily take it out of one piece and put it in the other that you need.
They're bound to the gear, so you have to wear the shell as well. Is that what you're saying?
It is absolutely.
So you can't min-max the stats.
It's the most stupid part of gearing so far that I've seen in this game. Coming from someone who exclusively had 3 sets of
you didn't see what they launched
and
with.
PvE gear.
Okay, so now
when they launched the set gear, didn't have an armoring, and the set bonus was attached to the armoring.
Oh, by the way, my vote was F. My vote was for F. I am disgusted. Just in case if I wasn't mentioning that was my vote.
There's that Sith condescension we were talking about earlier.
What surprises me the most is that as much as you despise this, the fact that you're participating baffles me. Like, if I were that disgusted with it, I would not engage. I would straight up whatsoever.
This is the only MMO that I play. And when this MMO is done, I might mess around in WoW a little bit, but I won't be moving on to another MMO. I'm in this game 100% because I love the Old Republic. It's my favorite time period. I love the classes that I play. I want to be the best at them. I'm continuing to learn. This gear will help me get to the final things that I need because the last achievements that I need that I care about PvE wise is I need to kill Hateful Entity. I need to kill Hard Mode Gods, and then when Nightmare comes out, I need to kill that as well. So for me, this gear will be essential. So I am saving up to get at least 1 set so I can do it on my flipping Sork because that's all I'm going to be able to afford. That's why I'm doing it. Am I doing it because I think they're awesome? No, I absolutely am not. I'm perfectly fine with saying I think it's a pile of steaming crap, but I'm still going to do it.
So I have a minor challenge, but to what you're saying, Magic. I just want to run something by you, actually, is how I'll say it, and see what you think of it, but we'll get into that in the chat section. when we get there, because there's a lot more to the Masterwork gearing. As I was reading about it, actually my opinion of it improved a little bit. I initially, and I responded the way I initially responded to this poll, was to say I'm pessimistic, because I had been, there was enough out there about it where I know the community generally has not been that keen on it. I know that it just kind of made ripples as the news went out about it. So I thought to myself, okay, and then I read some of the stuff on the forums, but didn't really go through it too much. But I actually made a point this week to go through it in detail, and I'm not as distraught as I thought I was. Now, I was only pessimistically distraught, so I'm actually, what's one level up from that? Like, receptive, maybe, I would say now?
Disgruntled?
Disgruntled as opposed to pessimistic.
Yeah,
What's a shade lighter than that?
Still not great.
Right. So we'll see. I'm taking more of a cautious, tentative approach to it. We'll see what happens. But there's some kind of like gated type of things, and when we talk about Larry Everett's article, I think some of it'll make more sense. There is some prep you have to do in order to, I think, engage the stuff you have to do to get there. So
I would like to say I'm indifferent, but I kind of like the fact that they're involving crafters. But what I don't like is they're involving the crafters in the way the market is now. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that can easily corner the market and
right,
and to make the components sky high, which then could very well depress participation in the activities that the gearing is meant for. So there's a double-edged sword, and sometimes people forget that just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I think that's very wise.
In a game economy, you don't want to kill off if you want to look at it purely business, like you want to kill off your market by, going for too big of a pile. But I like the fact that they're actually making crafting relevant. So the idea is good, but I don't know that I think the execution was
right
as well as done as it could have been.
Oh, I'm always down for crafting being relevant because I craft all the time. All the time. Like the enhancements I needed to get my power tech to the right amount of accuracy, I had to craft that. To me, I'm like, crafting being relevant, great. But don't make it so freaking unattainable that nobody wants to do it.
Right.
Like I said, I like the idea, but I think the execution is not where it needs to be. As relevant as it could be. And that's coming from someone who barely buys crafted stuff and doesn't craft. So, and I came in during the time where everybody bought all of their outfits off of the CC stuff. Nobody bought crafted armor when I started. So it was very blasé and passé. So anyway.
So let's talk about the results from our poll in chat. Out of all of the answers that were possible for this question, we had 3 that were optimistic, so 3 people are feeling good about it. 3 that were pessimistic, so I guess we're meeting in the middle, right? 3 that are disgusted, so I guess we're more on the disgusted side. And then 5 that are indifferent and don't really care about it. Which is interesting because I actually think that reflects our community poll as well.
Oh, you're talking about it in chat. I was like, where are you getting those numbers?
Yes, look at
not
the chat.
what I'm seeing.
So what you are seeing, I imagine, is from the show notes, correct?
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about the poll results from the community poll?
So, from the community, we had 30 votes, or 21% of the vote, for cautious. Next, popular at 29 votes was indifferent. After that was pessimistic at 24 votes. Disgusted follows with 23 votes. Receptive at 18. Excited at 11. And optimistic at 10 votes, or 7%.
Indeed. Okay, so at first I looked at this. I'm going to leave the results up for just a second while we talk about them. I looked at this and it seems like we're all over the map, because if you look at the little pie chart, it's decently divided between them, right? Usually our polls tend to skew more in one direction. If you look, we have like cautious and then indifferent, which, there are people that are, they care but they're not sure, people that don't care at all. then pessimistic. I'm not struggling to say it. Pessimistic.
Pessimistic.
Thank you. And then disgusted. But actually, I think this poll makes more sense if you analyze the results from the bottom up. So look at the ones that got the least attention were the positive ones, optimistic and excited. Going up from there, the next biggest piece was disgusted, or like receptive. I think is like, hey, bring it on. I'm okay with it. But disgusted and pessimistic were generally higher than excited and optimistic. So I think for the most part, would I be safe to say that our community either really doesn't care or they're a little bit more on the salty side on this?
Well, it kind of depends. If you put indifferent, pessimistic, and disgusted all together, and cautious, receptive, excited, and optimistic, there's actually more, right? There's more positivity towards it.
Okay, if you factor in receptive?
If you put cautious, receptive, excited, and optimistic, those are all positive words.
Cautious.
Yes. Cautious is not indifferent, and it's not pessimistic, and it's not disgusted. So... Right. Your negative words are indifferent, if you want to put indifferent in that pile. Pessimistic or disgusted, those are all negative words, and those are smaller. So it just kind of depends on how you group.
Yeah.
How you're deciding to group your people together. But
right. No, yeah, I think it's true. How you decide to group them is very important in interpreting this. Obviously, there's different shades of it, right? Like a disgusted is someone who's like vehemently magic hate against this, like that kind of rah. Somebody who's pessimistic doesn't really look well on this, but not maybe as strong a visceral reaction, I think.
My immediate reaction when I seen how much, like, because I went to the PTS the day we were allowed to.
Right.
I went and I started looking at the vendors and stuff and like seeing how much one little piece, how many components one piece was, and look how much crap we have to craft one thing right now. You need to craft something to craft something else that allows you to craft the piece that you need. And you need all the things for it. So if one of those pieces costs 300 components, how much is the math going to be? Like 60K of the components to make what you need. I'm like, are you kidding me? And when the math started coming out about how much it needed, the salt just kept pouring like it didn't stop. I have infinite salt right now. It's infinite.
Infinite salt. I think there's a hashtag.
Do you know
infinite
the characters I roll with? Like I said, I have been farming S&V. I had 4 characters locked on Nightmare, Dreadmaster, the DP. Sorry, we were going for Dreadmaster, but DP and S&V, 4 locked on those. If I can only barely afford like half the gear for one of my people, how am I supposed to do that? Like, I mean, I'm still going to be able to do the content now, but it's not going to be the same difficulty level. It's going to be a farm, and I'm sorry, but I don't play this game to farm. I know some of you people do because you're that good, but I'm still getting there. I just started Nightmare content this year. Thank you very much. Well, good morning, baby girl.
You're way ahead of me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know. Once people get to the farming stage, they don't seem to hang for long after that, unless they
depends how much you want it. I would say
it depends on how much content you're given to challenge you. Usually, if you've got Nightmare on farm, you're at that end. I mean, it doesn't help them any for those of us who are indifferent. That's a big chunk. That's number 2, at least of the population that we got to answer the poll.
Right.
Because we're not going to play the content at all. I mean, and that's just reflected in the companion alerts that didn't have anything to do with the story. None of the ones that have come along have had to do anything with the 2 characters that I wanted to take through Kodfi and Kotet. I wasn't willing to take more through the content.
It's such a long...
Exactly. Yeah. So I just was like, whatever. So I'm indifferent about these components. So it's interesting to see what the plan was for who they think is going to go do the chase and what they're trying to get out of that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
They have to have some kind of an idea of how this is going to shake out and what they want to see. So I would be very interested to see what that is.
Right.
Because that's a lot of stuff and a lot of time and a lot of grinding and a lot of not playing the Nightmare content, right? Because you need that stuff to do it, right? Wasn't that the whole point? you needed this gear to be able to actually complete the nightmare level content.
For Gods from the Machine, I believe, yes.
Right. That's what I mean. And so if people get burned out before they even get to that point, how is that effective? I just...
So, okay, so let's switch into the deliberation section here, where we're going to just kind of unpack a little bit of this more. I want to throw this out, because this is in this vein.
This is one thing, and it's very important, connected to the gear. Also, they closed PTS before Gods was fully tested. Gods NIM was not fully tested. So nobody had even went to Isaac's to do anything. Well, I mean, one person like pulled and died.
Isaac's NIM, can you imagine?
Nobody's even done that.
Yeah.
Nobody got past like the second phase of Isaac's because it was broke past the couplings. I mean, like we've got a raid coming out, a nightmare raid that is not fully tested, and we're supposed to be grinding for gear to do said raid. And the pieces we need drop for that. I'm just saying.
It is standard operating procedure.
Right. I'm just saying it's not fully tested. They've not even we don't even know about Skyva. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, should probably open that back up and just let it run while people are. But anyway, we'll cross that. So Masterwork Gear. Okay, so let me throw this out there because I know this is going to this has to factor into this discussion. If you are talking about straight crafting, which is one of the 3 ways to acquire this gear, yes, there's ridiculous mats. They have to be like, you have to do the hard grinding that Magic is talking about to pick those up. I was looking through the post a little bit in a lot more detail. They were saying that the cheaper way to go is actually going to be to upgrade your gear to 252 and then to 258. There's 2 other ways to get this gear. One of them is turning in Masterwork data crystals to a vendor on Ossus. Then there's some other stuff that data crystals that, like there's a cost to it. 2 data crystals for the 252 gear, the 258, which is the top end, best in slot, 3 to 4 data crystals per piece, plus one of the 252s. So there is a way that you can do the dailies. I think there's crystals that are awarded for doing the weekly on Ossus. So I think if they were saying, if you do 2 weekly things, you can guarantee to get up. I think it was a piece of the 252 gear, something like that. So you can get it that way. And then, of course, another way or the third way, was earning the pieces directly from like artifact boxes, which I know has been mentioned in chat. This is what I'm talking about specifically, doing the Ossus weekly. So they'll come in like you can get the upper, the lower, and tech, which is like the offhand, the main hand, etc. I don't know if the boxes, though, are going to end up being an RNG kind of a thing. I wonder. And the odd drop from a command crate. So throwing all those out there, I don't know if there's enough diversity in the way that you can acquire this. If you're running Ossus fairly regularly to actually gear up faster than just the straight grinding out and farming the components. Magic, does this affect your thinking on this in any kind of a way? Like that there's multiple ways to get this gear?
No, I think they're adapting a little bit because there was a really huge, massive freak out when it was first announced that that's how it was going to be. So I do think they added a little to it. I'm still not thrilled about the cost. I feel like when they adjust the cost, and I say when because surely there's no way they can truly punish us all this much.
Right.
All of us that actually care about this, it just feels unreal. So I say when in the hopes that my pessimism isn't completely choking the life out of me at the moment. But I'm going to say that I'm hoping that when the cost is adjusted and it's more adequate and attainable, then I'll have nothing to complain about because I do want crafting to be relevant. Even if it is a bit of a grind to get there, that's
sure.
An MMO. You're going to grind a little bit to get the gear, to get the end content, to get those achievements and such. That's part of it. I get it. But I do think the cost legit needs to be adjusted. It needs to be cheaper. That is insane. That is an insane amount. And for tanks, they need more components than what all of us DPS and healers would need.
Right.
So for me personally, I think unless that cost is significantly adjusted, no, that doesn't make me feel better and I'm not okay with it.
Okay. Redna, do you have any thoughts on this Masterwork gearing? Have you been following this discussion at all? The Masterwork in the community? Thumbs up or thumbs down? No, not at all. Okay. Hey, you know what? It's okay if you don't care, you don't care. That's so we do need to cover Larry's article.
I think I'm more concerned about the gear that Larry's recommending that story players do.
Okay.
I think that's more relevant.
Do you want to take us through Larry's 5 different things we can do to get prepared for 5.10?
Okay, so I think the first one was kind of, I don't know, obvious, but maybe not.
Right.
And that is finish the traitor storyline. Now, I mean, for people who are just coming back, like who heard that maybe there's a new planetary area and blah, 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 and decided that now
Right.
is worth coming back,
You have your work cut out for you.
they might be a little verklempt about that. But yeah, you need to finish the traitor storyline, it looks like. So obviously, and if you finish the traitor storyline at the end, you had to make some decisions, which they're putting that choices matter back in there.
Yes.
Hashtag what Bioware's known for.
Finally. Number 2 is you needed to pick your romance. Now, this is very interesting to me, a little bit, that's important. So,
Yes.
Sarah and Sean. Okay, sorry, I just had to say that because there's no
There's
other
another
choice.
hashtag.
well, yeah, but I didn't do Theron Sean. I did Torian. So
Okay, well,
there's no Theron Sean. with
That's what
Torian.
she said.
That is what she said.
Anywho,
So
if it's not Theron, Torian's acceptable. Otherwise, GTFO.
a bounty hunter, Torian, enough said. So yeah, you need to pick your romance. This is very interesting if I take a second character through, which I'm debating, but we'll
It
see.
is like so. We need to unpack this a little bit more, but I'll let you get through them. But I think we need to revisit this. The romance.
Yeah, number 3, it'd be very interesting if you didn't want a romance there and you don't have one that's already come through. But anyway, number 3, you need to gear up. Now this one, he's saying at least blue 230s. We linked the art. Wait a minute, hold on.
I did, yes.
Before I forget, we did. Okay, because I want to make sure that Larry is properly credited. But anyway,
Done. Already done. We'll have it in the show notes too, by the way. The link for this.
How many average players know about the blue 230s?
What is a blue 230?
All right, so let me stop us right here and talk about that. Okay, just to make
Is
sure
that the
everybody
gear
knows.
that you're given if you buy a character at max level?
No, that's purple 230. So okay, so there's the master. It is the master datacron and equipment is for 2,000 cartel coins on the, and it's actually what Larry suggested in the article. On the cartel market, you can get it. It's like 18 mil if you buy it and just want to or sell it. 80 mil, I think he's. My goodness. But so it's something that you can buy off the cartel market, apply it to your character. It does not advance you any in the storyline, but you get your ship and you get your max level, so you bumped up to 70, and then you get a straight set of 230 rated purple gear.
Are you talking about the Master's Datacron?
Master's Datacron and equipment.
Yeah, okay.
That gets you pretty much the ability to do entry level anything in game you want to do. It's admittedly an entry level set. But it'll hold you together through the story modes, that's for sure. So doing that is like a shortcut.
If you don't want to spend $80 million
or 2,000 cartel freaking coins,
correct?
Then you have the problem. Yeah, you have to upgrade your gear somehow to where you
got to go get your components that you
get
out of the
so to be perfectly frank, if your max level, because you know how you go play, and as you're playing through the story, you get those little boxes that have a blue piece in them. What gear level is that when you're going through the Kotfi content?
It depends. If you're 70, right?
Right, and you can start 5.10 story content right out of the box. You can go there and start it. Yes.
And you're level 70. If you're talking about CXP boxes, you get on.
No, I'm not talking about CXP boxes. I'm talking about the little box that gives you a random blue piece of gear as a quest reward as you finish each little bit as you're going along.
Right.
I have no idea.
It gives you 2 pieces, right?
Right, correct, right, yeah.
Yes. So like usually gives you, like you can have like an ear plant and or an earpiece and an implant, or it gives you like a chest piece and a relic and things like that. Yes, and it like you can progress through the story and like do heroics and things like that, and each time you complete it, it gives you a box.
Yeah.
That's right.
You upgrade your gear as you're going. Is that what you're talking about?
So, but he's saying what is that? And I don't know.
It scales. Like as you're leveling, it levels with you.
Okay.
No, it stops at 70. You don't get that. At
Right,
70.
I know. So what
Right,
is it?
but he's
I don't know
saying-
what
think
rating
it's
it stops
228.
at. Yeah.
I think it's 228 if I'm.
Okay, so that's a little low for this.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
the
so
deal
you really
is,
would need pieces from the CXP boxes if you weren't going to go and spend real money or.
Which is why
yeah.
if you're not subbed, you don't get that, and you have to get your gear elsewhere.
I think this item on Larry's list was probably one he gained by going in there under geared, like we're rocking 178s or something. I don't know what he copied over to the test server and went in there and actually was challenged trying to play the Ossa story content. And said, hey, you know what? I kind of learned this the hard way. Here's something I'd throw out there as a suggestion. Kind of get a little bit of gear on your character so that it makes it easier for you. But I didn't see him say, this was absolutely impossible to do. I struggled. Absolutely, you have to go. It was kind of like a suggestion. So take it for what it's worth, I think.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be shocked if you actually need gear because literally I played all of the story content to date naked with a high-level companion. So if you actually need gear again, I'm actually kind of encouraged by that.
Right now, we've asked you here on the council before, please wear your pants while we're filming.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
I'm coming
enjoyed
at
that joke
this
way too much.
from the perspective of maybe, hey, I haven't played in a year, and I heard there's a new planet, and this one sounds really cool, and I'm gonna come back.
That's
and
a
that
good point,
copy,
yeah.
that
And
copy
get
content stuff
creamed.
didn't look at all fun when I was watching other people play it, but this looks like traditional story content. I'm coming back. How many of those people
They're gonna get
know
blasted.
how to get 230 gear and they're going to have
Agreed.
80 million credits or one to throw down? What is
They're
that?
going to
20
be the
bucks
people that
for a
says,
data
they're-
con? I mean, like, that's
yeah, no, they're not. They're going to be the ones that in guild or in general chat goes, what the happened to my gear? How am I supposed to get this? Where are these vendors? How does this work? And then you got people like whispering them and
Well, that's
typing like,
another
this is how you do it,
question.
it's right here.
With the standard mass that you can just go run around in the world and scan and pick up as you're going around, what level of gear can you craft at this stage? I'm not talking about getting stuff out of operations,
It's
just
not
the
that high.
regular. What's the blue level gear? Because
It's-
if you
it's
can't
worth it
craft
more for the
that, and you
cosmetics
really
than it
do
is for
need
the-
this to play it, then that's a really failed implementation of approachability of content.
Yeah, and that's Elisa's point, as you can see.
Right, exactly. If that is
Right.
the case, like basically if the only place to get it is CXP boxes from playing the game. I'm talking about getting gear, playing the game, either crafted
Right.
or just through the process of putting time into the game. Yeah, that is ridiculous.
And I think we need to be practical and realistic here, that there are a lot of people currently who are subbing, getting the content, and then unsubbing. So it's not like they're hanging around,
Mm.
you know what I mean, subscribing. They're
Right, you
subbing
put your
just long
$15 in
enough.
for the month to unlock.
Yeah.
It's
So-
almost like I
Which
feel
this
like they
like
should.
content-
me on
but this
WoW.
content
And-
doesn't require the sub
Yeah.
for the month, if I recall correctly. I read that, right?
I think it does.
I would-
You
I
have
would-
to be subscribed, as far as I'm aware.
I feel like what they should do is just say, hey, if you've been subscribed from such and such, because that's what they want to obviously incentivize, right? You get a free master's work or master's datacron and equipment. Have fun with it. So at least you can gear up one character and push that character through. I'd love to see that happen.
I mean, that's great, but for the people who are coming back, they might not get that. I guess I don't think we should make 230 blue gear that hard to get a hold of. We're not talking about rating. You know what? Challenge
Right.
raiders, y'all folks like that stuff, whatever. But story people are here to see the story. Don't make it difficult for me to see the story, or else I'm gonna be like, too bad, so sad, yeah, no, bye.
Right.
I'm
So,
gonna be
I
honest. Like
mean-
you should still be able to do it naked with a high level companion, as far as I'm concerned.
But
Just
there's
from
a
the
lot of
stance
people who
that
don't have
anybody
that.
that's coming back to the game, that's basically the kind of game they've been playing for the past 3 years.
Right, but like my highest geared player is 20. Like don't want to have to go out and grind out higher than that. Like that's the highest level geared. That's the highest level companion I have. It's like 20 or 25.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I never got. Yeah, my
I get
my
mine
highest
into the
level
30s and
is
that's enough.
32.
Yeah.
'Cause that's just
20
I
to
don't,
30 is the highest I've ever gotten.
And that's
I
that's
ain't
the
got
highest
mine.
you need because it does its job. Any higher than that, you're really trying to be a max crafter. I think that's the
And
only
to be
reason to
perfectly frank,
go
it
higher.
should be around 20. It should be the highest you need your companion, because the character that I have just been playing through and leveling up as a part of that process with conversation decisions, that's about where I'm getting my character to, my companion to anyway. I mean, granted, I just picked one and stuck with it, but
Yeah. Same.
as soon as I got the one that I wanted to romance, that was it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't finish. So the last one he said is read Tales of the Jedi. Oh wait, I'm sorry, there's one more after that. Read Tales of the Jedi, volumes 1 and 2, and I assume that Sakari has put
doing it now.
that information into chat by Tom Vitish. Did I say that right? Vitish and Kevin J. Anderson.
Yes.
So I assume those are the comics, right?
Now, Red,
Yeah,
this
and
is something.
Kevin J. Anderson is a major author in the EU. He is freaking fantastic.
Yes, he is.
I will be doing that. Just saying. No
So-
disrespect intended, but
No, get me the link to view it online for free, and I might check it out.
Right. I want to
and
say
then the
that
final
Kid
part
Lee,
is play the False Emperor Flashpoint. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
and in the article, he's like, I don't know why I want to say play the False Emperor. Don't know why there's a. He kind of throws that out.
You can do that solo. Story people.
Right.
Yeah, because
Good
people
stuff.
made
Solo your way
the
through the
joke
Ilum
about
storyline.
Laura and you know all the stuff with Malgus.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait.
it's-
You can do the Ilum, the what is it, False Emperor and whatnot, Flashpoints solo now?
I
Solo
believe so.
mode. There's a solo mode,
There's a
and there's
solo. Oh God, they have
yeah.
so
Well, okay. Well, there's a
ridiculous.
solo mode on most Flashpoints now, where you can run through it as a story.
Yeah, so the
And then you can do it with a group.
purpose is if you want, if you're trying to get it done.
Story elements.
I was gonna say it doesn't give you
Random, it's
rewards.
done.
No, Red, it doesn't give you rewards.
No,
for the group
I
one.
don't care if it's about rewards. It's dumb, dumb.
Well, Red. Now there are a large group of people who play this game solo.
Yes, and it's catering
So-
to the.
It's fine.
You don't have.
You
to
can do
play
it either
solo.
way.
You can do
There's
it.
a
right?
large number of people that
But-
play this game solo. They could use the group finder.
I will say
That's
this
what
though,
it goes
being
there for.
locked,
They
being
pay their
locked to
money.
get
They
through
can
story.
play it how they want. So
I will say sometimes I just get tired of like group stuff because I do group stuff day in and day out all day long. Sometimes I just want to play the game by itself. I just want to do
Yeah.
my flashpoints, do the solo story, and just move on. So sometimes I really enjoy being able to solo a flashpoint, which is why when it was broken, when you were trying to do like Korriban incursion and you couldn't actually go in by yourself and do it, it wouldn't give you the droid and you couldn't click the Colto things because you weren't in a group. It was very, very frustrating because at 3 a.m. I'm like, I'm going to do this story content because I can't sleep right now. And I go through and it's like, oh, you can't. And you'd wipe. That was infuriating. When they finally fixed it months later, I was like, oh, well, now I'm done with all that content. I don't need it, but thanks. So
I
sometimes
mean,
Well, like
don't get me
solo
wrong.
is-
I used to solo at pre-level sync anyway, but that was just because you get a geared enough character that out levels it, and that was actually kind of fun to pull off.
Also,
'Cause it
to
was
be
a-
fair,
A feat.
for the free-to-play folks and the preferred folks, there's only so many things that they can do in game, and the solo stuff are things that they can do in game. So.
Right. Well, okay,
Uh,
so let me make a counter argument on this. There is the Ilum storyline is like the first, like post core game piece of content there was out there. At that point, I mean, it's so old. Ilum has been out since the start of the game almost, right? Or it has been since the start of the game. So, sure, make it a solo mode, like that you can just knock that stuff out, get the Ilum story, and then move on into the expansions, I think is, if you're a completionist. Most people I know are skipping it these days,
I haven't done it.
you know?
I've done the flashpoints.
You
because
can
I
do
want-
it in a couple hours,
but
I would say, a couple,
haven't-
3 hours.
I haven't finished the Ilum storyline
Yeah.
at all.
Actually, it's one of my favorite flashpoints, like that the whole Darth Malgus, False Emperor. What's the other one? Battle for Ilum, the
Yeah.
one right before it. So those are actually a really good like duo of those things. And actually,
The story
there's
actually works really well.
there's a side story that's going on throughout the game. You know, as Malgus is sending you, at least on the Imperial side, Malgus is sending you on all of these missions. You know, then you have the boarding party / whatever that other one is, where you actually get the what it is, the Starforge type deal. Help me out, Redden. I'm suddenly spacing on this. Anyway, so you
Boarding
unlock
party.
it.
Are you talking about the stealth armada?
Yeah, whatever, the factory that makes it. So that's what Malgus uses as his weapon when he wants to now take over the Empire. But then in these flashpoints, you go in there and overthrow him. You stop his bid. So there's like a whole side storyline if you actually been following, and I really like that about this game, that it's entirely optional, but like it culminates in those two. So definitely worth pursuing.
Yeah, he makes a bid to be the new emperor because as a part of the overarching story and like class story and whatnot, you learn that the emperor has been silent for an extended period of time. And he's like, basically, I don't care if he's alive or dead or what's going on with the emperor. He has disengaged from the empire and somebody needs to fill this role. I am the man to do the job.
Well, and also if you read the book Deceived, the novel, it really goes into Malgus' story, and you find out how much respect and love he has for alien races in the Empire, and he's actually in love with a Twi'lek. So you find out that he has it's very, very close to him. The fact that the Empire is not inclusive with other species that are just as important as Sith and humans. So it actually ties in completely to his whole bid for trying to have equality in the Empire between the races and species.
Plus it ties in. Did any of you guys get a chance to read the story RP release that they did with Lana Benico? It's kind of like an intelligence report. It's on the forums right now. It's a release on the website.
I put it in our Slack, or I'm sorry, yeah.
Yes, give me a second. I'll find the link and we'll share it as well. We'll have it in the show notes. But if you read through that, it's cool because there's been some time has elapsed now, and Lana's saying like when we begin the 5.10 story, what's happening now is that Asena's single-minded command over the Empire has actually put the Empire in a better place than the Republic is, and one of the things that she's done that's really positive for the Empire is accept a lot of those alien races. So you've got a lot of aliens now that are in the imperial ranks, which has actually boosted and strengthened the Empire versus the Republic, which has been kind of infighting because they don't know really now who's in charge post Chancellor Suresh. So I think it's going to be cool, and I'm excited to see how that angle of it, that the Empire is a little bit more alien friendly, ties in maybe with a possible Malgus return. I'm excited.
Can we cover really quick, because of the time, can we cover what the assumed choices are? I haven't actually covered this myself, so this will be my learning experience.
Sure. Okay, so we do have some. Are we cool with me running through this, or at least you want to get this? All right, I'll grab it real quick. So if you're gonna start the game or come back to the game or whatever and say, hey, I'm going to start 5.10. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to skip over all of this Kotfi Kotet nonsense and just start this and catch up. You can do that. That is an option for you to do. If you do that, though, there's going to be some things that you are signing up for that you may not know you're signing up for. So it's good that we're bringing this up because it's a message that's worth getting out there. Number one is that you cannot... It's going to assume that you light side arcaned it. And you did not do the romance. Okay.
Light side arcaned it.
All right. because
and did not do it. Okay, good. So light side is not to hook up with the genocidal maniac.
Yes,
That's no forced romance.
You saved him, but you didn't romance him. But he's contrite and he's sorry for what he did, and he's with you and he supports you now. That's going to be the arc and you're dealing with.
So he's not in prison.
No, he's not in prison.
So he's escaped all form of justice.
Correct.
What a great light side decision.
Since we've covered that on multiple
Rank has its privileges,
and we're running out of time, let's stick to this one.
But the reason that they did that is because if you decide to hang on to that alliance alert, one of the options in that is if you're nice enough to him, you can start a romance with Arkin, and they didn't want that coming in later on to ruin the story as it progresses with the romance story arcs. So that's the only alliance alert that they're going to assume that you've done, and these are the choices that you've picked. All of the other alliance alerts are unaffected. You can pursue those however you want.
So you can actually still go back and do those old alliance alerts.
Yes, absolutely. And it's your own. It's good because at first they weren't going to do that. Then there is another thing that you need to realize is if you're going to do this, if you are Republic, they are assuming in your history that you have completed all of the choices along the way. Light side option. If you are Imperial, all of the choices along the way, they're going to assume you have completed dark side. So here's some examples.
As it should be.
Right. So here's some examples. Like if you're on the Republic side, they're going to assume that you forgave Arkin and that you picked the light side option, right? But didn't do the romance. I think the Imperial assumes that you killed him. So I was wrong earlier. I think you've got to be the Republic side for it to whatever. But the Imperial side will assume that you killed him.
Unless you are a light side bounty hunter on Imperial side who did not kill him.
Okay, so okay, fair enough. So there's some other ones.
I've played all of it.
Okay.
So
all right. Okay, you played it out.
So if you want to be like off the beaten path, like moi, then I would suggest you.
Right, you have to play
through
it to change
and make all those choices.
I had one light side agent that I did the Arcan romance thing just so that I could see it. And then immediately she dumped him for Theron. It was perfect.
Okay, so if you are a Republic person, they're going to assume that you forgave Koth and let him live. If you're Imperial, they're going to assume that you killed him.
In my light side one,
that's like assuming I let Quinn live.
She did.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
My Republic is dark side, so I'll have to make sure I
Here's a toughie.
So
this one's rough.
Off if you're a Republic. So basically, light side is completely contrary to any concept of rule of law or justice, is what we're saying.
Yes, everything's about c'est
you
la
are
vie.
redeemable. You are
Water under the bridge.
and justice means nothing. You're welcome.
Okay, so, but hey, I mean, this is a good point of debate. So I'm glad that we're so there's a kicker. This one's a big one. If you are Republic, they are going to assume that you saved Vet. If you are Imperial, they are going to assume that you saved Torian.
As it should be.
What? That's like saying like light side. You picked her because she's like female or some. I have bad things to say about that.
Yeah, that's not an inherently light side choice. It's just which one are you more connected to. So that's going to be rough.
And they're both Imperial. So how would you like determine that the Vet should be the light side Republic option or the Republic option period?
I mean, if you romanced her as a Sith warrior, you're in a hard way. You better go back and finish the story.
So there's another one, and this one's kind of a drag.
She bitched out on you for how long? She doesn't necessarily deserve to be brought back.
That's okay. She brought the collar.
Redden is a dealing the justice. My goodness. So here's, and this one's a tough one as well. If you come back, if you start this with a Republic character, they're going to assume that you chose to ally with the Republic. If you start Imperial, they're going to assume that you chose to ally with the Emperor. With the Empire, you don't really get that choice. So that means that if you start a Republic character, you start 5.10, for instance, you can play Saboteur for on the Republic. You know what I'm saying? You can't play that story arc. You have to have played your way to it. And that bothers me a little bit. I don't know. Like, if you start an Imperial character, they're going to assume that you chose ally with the Empire. You have to play Loyalist. You can't play Saboteur against the Empire because of the assumed story choices. Does it make sense?
Do you understand what he's talking about,
okay,
Redna?
I see. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
You can be a double agent.
You cannot undermine your origin faction if you're taking a character through as an assumed character.
Right. Now you get a choice, like right at the end of the traitor storyline, or in the midst of it, you get a choice. Who am I going to ally with? Am I going to ally with the Republic or with the Empire?
Even if you've gotten to Iocath and made that choice.
No. Then you're good.
No.
Then you're good.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, the choice where you have to make that decision is at the end when Theron, whether or not you let him live, after Theron's come out and said what his plan was and his end goal, you go back to Odessin and you're talking to Lana and you have to make a decision. She's like, who do we contact? And you say, no matter what your original faction was, you get to make a choice.
But it's not the Iocath stuff; it's the flashpoints.
Yes.
It's the
right.
So there's an important point that we need to make here. Is like, if you are an Imperial character, that's going to be your background no matter what. If you chose as an Imperial character to ally with the Republic, you will play the Imperial storyline as a Saboteur, not as a Loyalist. Does it make sense? So you still stay in your faction of birth. You just are working for the other guys or working for us, essentially, is the choice. But with the assumed characters, if you start a character or if you bring a character back and you skip straight to 5.10, it's going to make that choice for you, and you are only locked into the Loyalist storyline. So just be aware that that's
Which
something
by
that you're signing up
default
for.
makes sense. I mean, like if you're just trying to get through content, although I would say it would be best if they went through like a tiny little tutorial thing that says, these are the options that are going to matter in the storyline. If you had played this, what would you pick? I feel like that would be better if they gave you like 7 or like 5
Some
to
check
7 like
boxes.
choices that you had to click.
There is precedent for that. They did that for Mass Effect 3.
And Dragon Age, apparently. They did it for 2, actually,
well, it's
as
for the
well,
key.
because...
For the keep, you couldn't take your save from 2 to 3, so that's why they created an entire platform for you to put your choices in.
Yeah, all it does is write to a database so that those
they
values are
actually
ready
did it for
when you
2
need
as
them.
well, because the computer was really
Mass
difficult.
Effect
to
save edit
transfer
for the win.
Right. Over.
I agree. But the one for Mass Effect Rednet was only for the PlayStation, I believe, and then they brought it over later for people on PC and Xbox to use because they put up a stake because people didn't want to have to go back and play Mass Effect 1, which I don't blame them. But moving on.
Right. So the only other assumption that they're going to make in addition to all of that stuff is that you chose to spare Theron because he's going to be in your alliance team moving forward. That's going to be an assumed choice no matter what faction you're a part of. So.
No, and honestly, I mean, aside from the completely devoid of any kind of rule of law or justice thing for the light side decisions, realistically, most of these do make some degree of sense as being default assumptions. Now, the real question is, you're not forced into these assumptions until you actually begin the content without having gone through it on your existing characters, right? So as long as I don't go through this story, then I don't need to worry about being forced down these paths.
Yeah. Well, if you've gone through the story, your choices stay with you. But you're going to get a cookie cutter person if you just start the 5.10 content without actually pushing through it.
What? SWTOR doing cookie cutter content? I would have never guessed.
Right, it's on the rails.
You totally want to, make sure that if you care about the choices or your role playing or whatever, you need to make sure that you play the content first.
Do it the hard way, and it'll make it work. It's true.
No, that's fine. I'm just the type that I actually do care, but I'm not going to be playing this content for quite a while then, because it's not particularly exciting for me to go through the content right now.
Or you could just take a character that you don't care about and take it through, if that's...
That's actually how I play anyway, so that you don't accidentally... Okay, so like I don't care about the side choices that my Juggernaut makes, so she just does dark side everything, and I see what the reaction would be, and I see the good or bad that would come out of it. So then when I go through with the main characters that I play with consistently and I want their companions to matter, then I make choices that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this because I accidentally killed somebody last time, you know?
Right. Yeah, totally.
Or you could do a booster. Take some of your cartel coins.
I do have 2 token characters that I play specifically for that.
I still have a free full max level character that I've never created, so I could do that.
You could do that if you don't
do that.
So,
and we need to wrap up.
Yes, we do. The only news things that are out there we've already mentioned. 5.10 is down on the PTS. They've wrapped it up. It's over. So the December the 11th, which I believe is next Tuesday, right, is going to be the 5.10 release date. You have a week and a day to do all of Larry's 5 points of getting ready. So have at it. Be great. Over to you, Magic.
Excellent. So this is where Magic Baby and I and all the council would like to say thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for chatting in our chat, because I couldn't remember the word chat. Thank you for participating in our poll, and especially the community. I posted it this week in the Satil Sean Rating Discord, since it was specifically about... Sorry, Woody just hit my floor. About content gearing for the raids and whatnot. So thank you for that. Thank you for the haters on Reddit. We love you. You're amazing. Thank you. We also want to say thanks to our lurkers. You guys are super awesome. Thank you to our patrons. Sorry, she's distracting. And just thank you in general. I'm going to wrap this up because I can't focus. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35, Magic Ace at the Magic Ace, Redna at R3DN4, and Sakari at I am Sakari. Also, don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor, where patrons can catch the articles we're talking about behind the scenes and exclusive backstage access to our after show chat. That's it for this week, guys. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.